Hi everyone, so I thought I'd show you some of the finished pieces after they're dry and try and explain why there's a few differences perhaps. So this was one of the first pieces I did on a record. It's got some great cells, really nice cells. Unfortunately I hadn't figured out how to plug the hole yet, and I've just learned if you put a sticker over this side it actually helps to stop that from happening. So this was a mixture of paint, PVA, silicone, which I was using the liquid silicone, and some water to thin things down, and then the Easy Flow. And I'll show you the recipe in a little bit. I did these down in Melbourne at my home a few weeks ago. This was another one that I did, amazing cells. This one actually dried quite dark, so when I poured it, the colours were really vibrant, and then when it dried, it went quite dull. So I've actually started adding a bit more white to my colours, just brightening them up using very bright colours and less darker colours together. But gorgeous cells, so many cells popped and dried really well. So this has a coat of varnish on it. You can see a little bit nice and shiny. Now this one is on a canvas and the colours are really bright. So I'm not sure if that might have something to do with the brightness of the colours, the fact that it's been done on a white canvas and these were done on a black record may have affected the colours slightly. Down the sides of the canvas, and this one I've put one coat of varnish on, but it dried really nice and smooth, and that was done with the liquid silicone as well. Lots and lots of cells, gorgeous lacing, really nice colours. Only used 3 colours in that, just the white, pink and green. Really happy with that one. Now I'm up in Wodonga at the moment visiting my parents, and it's much warmer up here than down in Melbourne. And I did these ones yesterday and it confused me a bit. Both on canvases, really pretty. This was a flip cup. Got a few cells in there, lots of lacing, lots of marbling, really gorgeous vibrant colours. I'm really happy with how the paint's dried. Nice and smooth, haven't got a gloss on it yet. Nice, dried really nice and smooth, no bubbles. And then this one was my first attempt at a dirty pour. Really happy. I think it's, yeah, I'm really happy with it. I put some bronze in there, which when the light catches it, looks really effective. The only thing I'm not fussed with is it's got lots of little pinholes. So I'm not sure if that happened whilst it was drying or if it's because I used a slightly different amount of PVA or a slightly different amount of silicone. I'm not 100% sure why that happened, because this one really doesn't have the same amount of pinholes. It's much smoother and cleaner. So not too sure why that happened. But as you can see from both of these, compared to these, they're very different, and I've pretty much used the same recipe. So if anyone's got any suggestions, feel free to put some information in the comments, because it's a bit confusing. I'm not sure if the weather has something to do with it, but yeah, the cells just aren't there this time. I just wasn't getting the same sort of effects as I got last time. Used the blowtorch on it, did all the same things, and just very different result from these ones. So if anyone has any tips or knows why this might happen, for those who don't know Australian weather, Melbourne is much cooler at the moment, and Wodonga, which is where I am now, which is where I did these, is much warmer. It's really warm, and it's actually quite humid yesterday. So I don't know if that affects the results, but I'd be interested to learn more. So here's my recipe. This is basically what I'm now using, paint. I use very cheap paint, very cheap, just standard acrylic paint. And I'll show you in one of my other videos the exact type of paint that I've been using. I got it at Lincraft, very cheap. 30% PVA, 30% Easy Flow. This is the Easy Flow. I feel like it's similar to Floetrol. It's a paint additive, but I don't think it's as good as Floetrol. But here in Australia, Floetrol you could only get in a huge, huge container, and it was $50. I wasn't paying that much. I'm just playing around and having fun at the moment. I'm not selling these professionally or anything like that. It's just a hobby. And this was only $10, so I thought I'd give it a go. Water to thin it, and then either WD-40 or liquid silicone, 1 to 2 drops. Either of those two. I kind of go between both of them depending what mood I'm in. I probably prefer the WD-40 at the moment, just because what I've found is when you use the silicone, and I've just got mine that I've put into a jar. This was lubricant for Singer sewing machines. So it's a oil. What happens is that the silicone comes to the surface. And so after the painting's dry, you have to give it a wipe. And sometimes where those bubbles of silicone have raised to the surface, the paint has dried around it and it ends up with a little crater. And I'm not much of a fan of that look. So I find that the WD-40, while it probably doesn't get as big and as interesting cells, it's much smoother when it dries. In saying that though, maybe that's why I've ended up with all of these little pinpricks and air bubbles. Who knows? Because I was going between the oil, the silicone oil, and the WD-40 yesterday, so I can't exactly remember what I used on this one. Definitely the oil on this one, the WD-40 possibly on this one, so I might do a few more tests today. But that's my basic recipe. Now I'm going to do this in another video as well, but I wrote these down so that you might like to look them up as well. So I'm basically thanking these 3 artists, 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to try and pronounce them because I thought I won't pronounce them properly, but these are the 3 main people that I've subscribed to get tips. And I've watched so many of their videos. Amazing artists, really great information that they provide, and really, really interesting techniques that they use. So I wrote them down here so that you can get the exact spelling. Subscribe to their sites. I definitely highly recommend it. Subscribe to mine as well. I'm just starting off, but these guys have been doing hundreds and hundreds of videos and they are amazing. So look them up and you'll get some really great advice. So I'm going to do some paintings now, and that will be in a separate video.